So our topic is nutrition, human nutrition. But in general, what is nutrition? It is the intake and processing of high energy molecules or the raw material for synthesizing new protoplasm and providing energy is called nutrition. Now see step by step. The first part is it is the intake and processing of high energy molecules. If we consider this part of the definition, then it is for all the animals. All
Yes,
animals, all animals need high energy molecules. They intake and there they process by different uh, processing phenomenon, for example, digestion, respiration, and ultimately they get energy. Or in other words, it is the intake or the processing of. This term is same. This term is same for both animals and plants. In animals, the processing of high energy molecules, intake and processing of high energy molecules. But for plants, it is the intake and processing of raw material for synthesizing protoplasm. So ultimately, what they do, both of them, either animal or plant, they synthesize their protoplasm and providing energy. Okay, so these are the important terminologies: the intake and processing. And the intake is different in animals. In animals, the intake is high energy molecules which possess chemical energy, for example, fats, carbohydrates. Or for plants, it is the raw material for synthesizing new protoplasm. And it can be true for animals as well, because whatever we take in our food, we ultimately digest and utilize it. For example, proteins. Proteins are digested to yield different types of amino acids, and from those amino acids we take we synthesize our own protein, which is necessary for protoplasm of different cells and providing energy. So in both the cases, either in plants or in animals, we need energy. So the nutrients present in our food provides enough energy for their survival, as well as the raw material for building up of the uh, for growth and development. Okay, so these are the main reasons. That's why nutrition is necessary. Nutrients are chemicals. So first of the important thing is these are chemical substances. So these are the chemical substances needed by the body, needed by the body. Why? To provide energy, to repair the older body cells, and to form new cells. So these are the three basic requirements that should be fulfilled by our nutrients. Okay, so nutrients are chemical substances. They can be of any kind which can provide us energy, repair the older body tissues or cells or the parts, or repairing mechanism for higher animals for healing the wounds, and to form new cells. New cells when we grow, when something is repaired. So nutrients are required for synthesizing new cells, new tissues, or new structures in the body. Food is the group of the chemicals, those chemicals or the chemicals, you can write any word, which are required by an organism for growth and energy production. It is also required for the synthesis of enzymes, for metabolic processes. If you consider there, so there are almost the three same points which are under the heading of nutrients. So and nutrient and food are similar things. Food is a general term, nutrient is an appropriate term for digestion and nutrition. Food generally describe all the chemicals, and nutrients, there are different nutrients in our food. So food is the group of chemicals which are required by an organism for growth and energy production. Same thing is here. And also for the synthesis of enzyme for metabolic processes. And not only for synthesis of enzyme for metabolic processes, but and also for growth and development of an organism. And when we are talking about growth and development, it means the same thing that we have studied here, to form new cells. Okay, so food and nutrients are almost the same things. Got it? Someone asks you a question that why we need food? Why we need food? So why do we need food? So answer is same that we have written here under the heading of food and nutrients. So our answer would be the same. Nothing different. There's no difference. Okay. So why we need food? We need food for growth and energy production, for the synthesis of enzymes and other proteins for metabolic processes, and also for growth and development. So a short answer covers all these points. So if you want to see the detailed answer, you can use your book. Diet is a combination of, it is a combination of foods or nutrients by a specific group, by a specific group of organism or people. Okay, so it is very important thing, a slight difference for the diet. Number one, it is a combination of food and nutrient. So it means diet itself is food and nutrient that we have covered, that we have studied already. Okay, so it is also food and
Yeah.
nutrient. But for what? By a specific group of organisms. Some organisms need different foods. Some are carnivores, some are herbivores, and some are producers. And among the carnivore, food is different. Carnivore, the animals who feeds on other animals. Herbivore, who feeds on plants, grasses, for example, all the cattles. Similarly, if we see among the human being, the diet of a children, diet of a child is different from the diet of an adult. And among the adult, diet is different uh, for the people uh, who are old age. Old age peoples require some other types of nutrients, and The younger babies require other types of nutrients. Their diet is different. A diet of breastfeeding mother is different. A diet of pregnant uh, woman is different. So diet is a specific word for food and nutrient for a specific group of organism or people. We have another terminology. You have seen the word diet, and now the balanced diet. What is meant by balanced diet? It is the very important terminology that we use in our daily life as well. Balanced diet. A balanced diet is a diet, means the combination of food and nutrients that contains all the essential nutrients. Okay, because there are a number of nutrients that we need in our food, and sometimes our food contains some of the nutrients but not the other, or a food may contain all the nutrients but not in a proper proportion, proper ratio. So all the essential nutrients are necessary in the correct proportion. They need in the correct proportion. Okay, so nutrients in the correct proportions. Why? To maintain good health. Because if we take lots of proteins, it may cause some problems. And because of the deficiency of other nutrients, some other problems can be there. For example, if you are taking too much protein, it may cause stones in the kidney. If you take a diet that is deficient in certain vitamins, may cause some health effects. Then the deficiency of vitamin C causes scurvy, means bleeding gums, and the deficiency of vitamin D may cause weak immune system defense mechanism against the invading pathogens. The deficiency of vitamin D may cause the weakening of bones, and so we need all the vitamins, minerals, and all the essential nutrients in our diet in a proper proportion. Nothing should be greater than its requirement. And proper proportion doesn't mean that we should take the equal quantity of protein, carbohydrate, and fats. No, not the equal quantity, but as per requirement. We don't need too much carbohydrate. We don't need too much fats, and we don't need too much protein, but everything. Carbohydrate is one of the important uh, nutrient in our diet. It is essential, but taking too much carbohydrate is also, it may cause certain problem. For example, obesity, because the extra carbohydrate that we take in our diet is ultimately convert into fats. For balance, definition of balanced diet, these three important points must be included. A balanced diet is a diet that contains all the essential nutrients in correct proportion to maintain good health. See the components of the balanced diet or our diet. There are several components of the diet. Some of the components are needed for uh, energy, which provide energy. So these are, with sequence, are carbohydrates, and fats, Fats, a journal name is lipid, and lipids have number of classes, which include fats, oils, cholesterol, and number of other things. I'm not mentioning the name here. Terpenes and terpenoids, these are also lipids. But the most common that we know are fats and oils. And third number is protein. And after proteins, vitamins, then minerals, and then
Fibers.
fiber. Yes, fiber. So fiber is also required in our diet. Now you can see this bar graph. Uh, the weight percentage is given here on y-axis, and different types of food. For example, meat is a general word, and in this bar graph they have not differentiated the meat of chicken, fish, or mutton or beef, but in general a meat contain water. How much water? Too much water. It is about 75% water. This light blue color is water. And no fiber in meat. Lipid, yes, lipid is there. And purple color is for protein. So if we count the solid mass, then in meat, protein is more than the fat. Protein is about 18% by weight, and it is about 13 to 14%. That is the lipid. But carbohydrate, actually in this bar graph, carbohydrate is not given here, but a very little quantity of carbohydrate. That's why they have not given in this simple graph. Now, if you see white fish, actually there are different kinds of fish. Fishes have, some of the fishes have white meat, and some of the fishes have red meat. So those fishes which give white meat, they have very little quantity of fat, but it is the major source of protein, and the remaining amount is of water. अच्छा, एक और चीज, जब इन्होंने फिश को अलग लिखा है तो मेरे ख्याल में इन्होंने मीट में फिश शामिल नहीं की है, बल्कि इसमें इन्होंने चिकन और बीफ और व्हील वगैरह शामिल किया है, मटन वगैरह शामिल किया है। और प्रोटीन, प्रोटीन अच्छी खासी मौजूद है। अगर आप सॉलिड मास में देखें तो मेनली प्रोटीन ही मौजूद है। सो फिश इज अ वेरी गुड सोर्स ऑफ प्रोटीन, स्पेशली द व्हाइट फिश। एंड दिस इज द होल मील ब्रेड। होल मील ब्रेड का मतलब यह है कि ऊपर से जो छिलका होता है वो वहां से रिमूव नहीं करते हैं। उसका ब्रैन ब्रैन वो रिमूव नहीं करते हैं, वो उसमें ही रहता है। लेकिन अब इम्पोर्टेंट चीज आप ये देखिए कि इसमें फाइबर भी मौजूद है। इन दोनों चीजों में फाइबर नहीं था, ठीक है, यहाँ फाइबर भी
जी।
मौजूद है। होल मिल
जी।
ब्राउन और very large quantity of carbohydrate is there. Carbohydrate is almost in negligible quantity in uh, these foods, meat and white fish. Fat is very small quantity. Proteins are also in a small quantity but appreciable quantity. But the major contribution is the carbohydrate, and fiber is also in enough quantity. बैक्ड बीन्स, ये जो हम सीड्स खाते हैं बेकिंग किए हुए, तो इनमें क्या है, प्रोटीन्स भी हैं, कार्बोहाइड्रेट भी है और फाइबर भी है जो है। अब आप मुझे ये बताइए कि क्या ये जरूरी नहीं है कि हम जो है मिक्स फूड लें, क्योंकि अगर हम सिर्फ मीट ले रहे हैं तो कार्बोहाइड्रेट नहीं मिल रहा है, अगर हम
जी सर।
होल व्हील ब्रेड ले रहे हैं तो फिर इसमें प्रोटीन कम है और कार्बोहाइड्रेट बहुत ज्यादा है। सो दैट्स व्हाई वी टेक एवरीथिंग in a proper proportion. And if you want to know what is the proper proportion for your diet, as per your health condition, as per your working, you can consult your nutritionist. सबसे अहम चीज होती है कि मौसम का जो वेजिटेबल और फ्रूट्स हैं वो हमें लेना चाहिए। जिस मौसम में जो फ्रूट्स आ रहे हैं वो अल्लाह ताला ने इसीलिए पैदा किए हैं कि वो जरूरी है उस मौसम के लिहाज से। Now we will see individually. Number one, carbohydrates. Carbohydrate, the sources of carbohydrates are, the major sources are potato, bread, rice, and other cereals. Wheat is also included in cereals that is used for making bread and chapatis, naan, and different types of other uh, other foods. Sweet potato and carbohydrate is also present in number of fruits. In fruits, carbohydrates are usually in the form of sugar. There is another classification of carbohydrate that we have studied in biological molecules, that some of them are called polysaccharides, which comprises many sugar units, many single sugar units. Some comprises two sugar units, and some remains in the form of single sugar units. But there is another classes in our biology that a kind of carbohydrate is called cellulose. In a proper classification of carbohydrate, it comes under the heading of polysaccharide. Okay, but the term polysaccharide is not used in our syllabus. Another one is starch. Starch is also one of the polysaccharide because it comprises many sugar units. That's why the word poly means many. So it is called polysaccharide. Okay. So what does it uh, it do in our body? We actually cannot digest, cannot be digested by any enzyme in human body, but bacteria in our large intestine can digest cellulose. Okay, cellulose can be digested by bacteria in our intestine. Okay, got it.
Yes, sir.
What is its importance in our diet? Actually, it is an important fiber, an important fiber. So it provides roughage to the intestine. Roughage means that causes um, to remove anything which is within the wall, with the wall, inner wall of the intestine, just like mopping. Okay, somehow it these fibers work as mopping the inner wall of the intestine. Okay, starch, we divide starch into sugars. Starch is divided into sugar in our body after digestion. So the digestion converts starch into sugar. But one more important thing, we take sugar in our diet as well. Okay, from different fruits, vegetables, especially the fruits. Fruits provide us sugar, and the refined sugar we take. First of all, in chemistry, what is sugar? We should know it. These are white, crystalline, water soluble carbohydrates. So, any carbohydrate, whether it belongs to disaccharide, which consists of two sugar units, or polysaccharide, not polysaccharide, sorry, there is no sugar which is polysaccharide. Sugars are either disaccharides or monosaccharide, means they either comprise uh, two sugar units or the one sugar unit. That they can be classified here. Some sugars comprises single unit sugars, which are called monosaccharide in chemistry, single sugar units. And in true chemistry, they are called monosaccharides. But the word monosaccharide is not the part of our syllabus. Okay. So if
Yes,
you are
sir.
okay, so if we are talking about monosaccharide, so the common monosaccharides that we take in our diet or produced in our uh, digestive system by digestion are glucose. Glucose is the one of the important and the more major carbohydrate in our diet. Another one is fructose. Fructose we take in our diet from grapes and other fruits, and it also be obtained from uh, by the digestion of table sugar. Table sugar is a disaccharide, but when it hydrolyzes, it gives two units. One unit is their glucose and another unit is fructose. So fructose in pure form can be obtained from fruits, and it can be obtained by digestion of the sucrose, that is a disaccharide obtained from beetroot and sugarcane. And galactose. Galactose is another monosaccharide that is obtained by the digestion of lactose, that is a disaccharide present in our uh, in milk, present in milk. This is the milk sugar, lactose. Okay, so these are the three important monosaccharides, and some other monosaccharides are not used for uh, not used for our nutrition or the energy processes, but important. These are deoxyribose and ribose. You know where is deoxyribose? The sugar in DNA, and ribose is in RNA. Okay,
Okay, sir.
but remember that these are for energy, for used in energy production pathways in body. Pathways. This is W, energy production pathways. And this is for DNA and RNA. And another kind of sugar that I have already told you, these are disaccharides. This term is not the part of our syllabus, but we can consider it as the sugar molecules which comprises two sugar units. Two sugar units. Okay. And the three most common examples are: number one, maltose. Maltose is mainly obtained in our intestine by the partial digestion of starch. And the further digestion of maltose gives 2 units of glucose. We obtain 2 units of glucose from digestion of maltose. And one of them I told you, sucrose. Sucrose is digested in our intestine to produce glucose and fructose. And the milk sugar in our intestine is converted into lactose. It is converted into glucose and galactose. Okay. And we need certain enzyme for them.
जी सर.
The name of the enzyme is related to their own name, maltase, ASE, ending for most of the enzymes. So it is sucrase and it is lactase. And from here, I should include one more important point, that genetically some of the people are unable to synthesize lactase because of the absence of the gene or inactive gene in their body. So when they do not synthesize lactase, so they cannot digest the lactose. So lactose free milk is provided to them, because otherwise this lactose pass through the small intestine undigested. So this undigested lactose reaches to the large intestine where uh, bacteria are there. So bacteria utilize that lactose for their general energy metabolism that ultimately produces different types of acids. And those acids that the bacteria produce may cause cramps and some disturbance in the intestine. So those people are called lactose intolerant. Because they have lactose intolerance, they cannot synthesize lactase. So the milk that is provided to them is lactose free milk. So how the lactose free milk is obtained? Lactose free milk is obtained by treating the milk with lactase enzyme. When we treat the milk with lactase enzyme, then the lactose is already digested in the milk. That processed milk do not contain lactose, but it contains glucose and galactose. Carbohydrate that we take in our diet are cellulose, starch, and different types of sugars. And even the sugars can be obtained from the starch as well. So the main carbohydrate is the starch. But ultimately, if we observe all of these, what we observe that these starch, sugar, ultimately even the starch or the sugar, it is converted into glucose. If you are talking about starch, starch is digested into maltose and maltose is converted into glucose. Sucrose is ultimately gives us glucose and fructose. So there is glucose after digestion of disaccharide. So digestion of disaccharide gives us glucose. And glucose can be obtained directly in our diet from different fruits. And even the monosaccharides, other than the glucose that we obtain, are ultimately converted into glucose in our body. So in our body, the ultimate carbohydrate is glucose. And what does it do? It provides two main things in our diet. Oh, sorry, in metabolism. And what are these things? What does this glucose do in our body? Number one, it oxidizes to produce energy, and that energy is stored in the form of ATP. And ATP is utilized whenever our body needs energy. So immediate source of energy is ATP there. ATP, adenosine triphosphate. And another function of carbohydrate, that the excess of glucose that is produced or taken in our diet, it is converted into that glucose is converted into glycogen, converted into glycogen, where glycogen in liver and in muscles. And the function of this glycogen, actually glycogen is also a polysaccharide. Sorry, I should write it glycogen. It is a polysaccharide just like the starch, but slightly complex in its composition. And the two parts in our body store glycogen. One is the liver, another one is the muscles. The glycogen that is synthesized in muscles is further used in muscle only. Yani, it means if the glycogen is obtained or whatever the glucose is converted into glycogen in muscles, it would remain there. But the glycogen in liver, on the basis of when the body needs glucose, and glucose there is a deficiency of glucose, then deficiency of glucose in blood, or in a better way you can say, when the concentration of glucose is uh, concentration of glucose is lower in blood circulation, then liver provide glucose by hydrolysis of glycogen in liver cells. So glycogen hydrolyzes the air and provides us glucose again. So the excess of glucose, number one, the main purpose of taking glucose in our diet, either directly or either through digestion, is to provide energy. But we do not need energy all the time. So the excess of glucose is stored in the form of glycogen in liver and muscles. And the importance of liver glycogen is more because whenever glucose is needed, this glycogen in liver is converted into glucose again. And another fat, FATE fat, means the final conversion is the conversion of glucose into fats. In different metabolic pathways, fats are also produced from glucose. So glucose is also converted into fats. Where? In adipose tissues. Adipose tissues are those tissues where fat is stored. These are under the skin in adipose tissues. Okay, adipose tissues are fat cells. Adipose tissues is not in our syllabus. It is the additional point that I teach the student so that they can understand that excess of carbohydrate is not good for our health.